SAPEX is the body professionalizing supply chain management in Africa since 1966. 53 years of commitment to supply chain excellence in Africa whilst growing, empowering, and sustaining a vital community of educated supply chain professionals. Supply chains are at the heart of every organization, and supply chain competence is the catalyst for economic growth and transformation. As supply chains become more complex, skilled and ethically accountable management is essential. But where are those professionally designated and ethically accountable supply chain professionals? You are these supply chain professionals. These are our supply chain focused organizations, and SAPEX aims to elevate your role as a supply chain professional within them. Join us on our journey to elevate supply chain management as a profession in Africa. Think supply chain. Think SAPEX.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the SAPEX Young Professional and Student Conference, our second day. We're delighted to have so many people join us this morning. Thank you for waking up early and making the commitment to yourselves, to your careers, and to SAPEX. Just a few housekeeping points before I introduce our speaker for the morning. If you were not here yesterday morning, just a reminder that there is a handout bag with lots of very interesting and useful documents in it. You can find that on the top right-hand corner of your screen. So next to your picture or your initial, you'll see the toolkit, which you can always use to just reboot if you're having some issues with hearing or seeing. And then next to that is a handout bag. In that handout bag is the program, so you can refer to what was on yesterday, as well as the mentorship document, which I will chat about later after the keynote address. Just to say that you can watch the sessions that were on yesterday if you weren't able to attend all of the lectures. If you just go to the sessions, you'll see them marked in gray. You just click on them and then you'll be able to watch it. And just to let you know that if you can't get to that today, it will be open for the rest of the day, and then we will transfer them onto YouTube links, which will be sent to all of the delegates. We were delighted to have 270 registrations for this conference, and we're very grateful to you all for your help. Thank you also to our sponsors, which need to be thanked for their partnership. Please see their logos on the side of the screen and pop into the Hangouts when you can. Just read some of the brochures and see what the organizations do. If you need any contact details or want to reach out to these organizations, please let me know. I think that's all. Keep an eye out on the announcements as well. And just to remember to stay after the mentorship document to participate in our quiz. We have some great prizes. I'll put up the prizes in the announcements just now, but they're well worth staying for. And it's lots of fun. It's not like in a university exam. It's just a really good way to spend half an hour on a Saturday morning. So with that housekeeping over, it's my great honor to introduce our keynote speaker for the morning. Ms. TAELO MOJAPELO is the CEO of BP Southern Africa. She assumed this role only in June 2020. She's a business leader with 19 years of professional experience in Africa and a wealth of commercial and operational experience in supply chain leadership, strategy, and operational excellence. She has an amazing bio, so I'm going to read most of it out. She's held a number of operational and senior leadership supply chain roles at South African breweries, Kellogg's, DHL Excel, and recently at Mondelez. She's committed to transforming and creating a conducive environment for all employees to thrive through value-based leadership and has led BP amid a major transition in the oil industry. In her role, she actively supports and sponsors the diversity, equity, and inclusion agenda, ensuring teams recognize people's individuality while promoting a high-performance culture. Doesn't that sound amazing? TAELO continues to advocate for transformation, and this is evident by the sizable increase in executive female representation in BP South Africa. TAELO, I hope you can see all the hearts and the thumbs up that are coming up on the screen. Throughout her leadership journey, she has committed herself to purposeful empowerment of the youth. Holding senior positions in various organizations has enabled TAELO to contribute towards skills development through coaching and mentoring. And she's been a member of SAPEX for many years and truly believes in the value of community and this community. And we really are honored to have her address us today. So with that, I'm going to hand over and then I'll come on at the end and we'll talk about the mentorship program. Thanks, TAELO. Over to you.
Thank you, Claire. And thank you, everybody, for waking up on a Saturday morning. I can imagine some of you are probably final year university or young professionals, and so Saturday morning is not necessarily the best time, but I think you obviously are committing time to your own professional development, so really thank you for that. I'll start with also just a few hygiene factors. We've had load shedding, and I'm sure quite a few of you may struggle, so if I do sound wobbly at some point, please, I do apologize. But also to recognize that, this month in my organization, we are focusing quite a lot on mental health. We recognize that people are struggling, and we have provided quite a bit of support for all our employees, including, time off, recognizing the amount of effort that has gone into all the work that they've done during this time of transition. So I think for all of you that are on the call is to really look after yourselves, and when you find that you're struggling, it always helps to speak to somebody else. And mentorship as well also helps with that, because you do get a sense of direction sometimes when we do speak to somebody. So I think today I just want to share a story, and I'll tell you a story of a woman I know very well, and I've traveled the corporate journey with her. So this woman, post completing high school, went off to study science and engineering, and probably largely because she's grown up observing that. And her first role model when she was very young is someone who was a coach and mentor. Her father was an industrial engineer and a chemist, and so that would have probably likely influenced her career choices. She excelled very well at school and at varsity. She did very well, finishing in record time with dean's commendations as well. And for her, she probably did that not because failure was not an option because of the responsibilities she had. She did that because failure was not an option because she was naturally very competitive. But she didn't realize that over the years, she would face many challenging moments that would humble her. She went on to do a master's degree, and post completing that, she joined a junior management trainee program. By the way, without any work experience, and that was the first of her corporate challenge. And she joined this program, never having managed people other than herself, never having led work projects other than university and work holiday projects. And she made it on the strength of the outcome of a grueling interview process and psychometrics. Obviously, that's not the norm. And now she was part of a cohort of individuals who had various work experience, and they would share that, and they were not confined to one environment that had different types of experience. Now, naturally, she felt lost and considered going back into academia. And the first thing she did was, to look to her networks, and these were now her academia networks, to talk. And she needed to talk. And in that process, she was introduced to a mature man who would take her under his wings and become a great cheerleader and really focus on her development. And it was almost like he became a corporate father. He worked with her and helped her build her confidence. And this was a very male-dominated environment at the time, so you can imagine the challenges that she would have faced. But this eventually led to a career change, and she ventured into the world of supply chain. Naturally, she was obviously aware that she had a high learning agility, so she could, go down that path, and she had to learn very fast. It took plenty of sacrifice, long working hours, and studying as well to get to the grips with supply chain. So as you can hear, these have been moments of transition, and sometimes we do think that transition only happens when the whole macro environment speaks about transition, but we all go through personal transitions, and many of you would probably be going through one transition or the other. Now, you'll recall that this is a lady who had spent time studying in the science and engineering space. So she had studied how to stabilize mining chemical waste, rock analysis, and so forth. And now this is a new exciting world of logistics. And you're obviously having to look at value stream mapping, procurement, analysis, and supply chain planning. It was very exciting. And I must say, for her, speaking as somebody myself who is a supply chain person, she would have most likely found it very challenging as well, but never a dull moment. And as this journey began, she met two important people. The one was a wise lady who was a great mentor and eventually guided her into studying an MBA. And another, a young industrial engineer, plying his trades, designing warehouses and so forth, and that would eventually become her best friend and life partner. A few years went by, and at this point, this lady is now a mother and new harsh realities kick in. Both she and her partner live far away from their family support structures, and things are not holding. And at this point, she needed to speak as well. So you do get difficult challenges. At some point, she contemplated leaving corporate, yet again, to become a full-time mother. She also happened to have a good relationship with a more senior colleague, and it was a male who would bring in different perspectives, and that really required deep thinking. And, one learns over time that the first rule to success is to be authentic and honest with yourself. And she went down that path. And she got to a point where she decided to approach her manager and shared her challenges and put those forward. And a working arrangement was made, and that proposal was accepted. And this was purely on the back of discussions with her male colleague. And 2 years post that working arrangement, she was ready to get back into the swing of things. And unfortunately for her, some of her colleagues had moved on. Many had been promoted, and most of them male. But that's the reality of motherhood. And for young females in this session, it's a reality women face. And as I speak, would like to see more corporates and policymakers all work towards creating an inclusive environment. Anyway, she worked very hard, got involved in several projects, took on different supply chain roles to further deepen her skill set, and her leadership, that's when the leadership journey started. But it also started on the back of building strong networks in the workplace and out of the workplace. And this leadership journey coincided with a period where she was working to define her purpose to become a better leader. She had a great mentor at the time, and this time it was a female industrial psychologist who would help her working through her purpose and how best to leverage her strengths. And she got to a point where she made a personal commitment to use the agency that she has and that she's developed over the years to uplift other women and groom better men, and also get involved in making sure we don't have any youth that are left behind. And the journey continues. That woman, the woman I'm talking about, is telling my corporate journey and how I've not made it on my own. It's been through various interactions. The transitions have been very big in many instances. And I've never had a time where I've not had to question myself. As it is now, in 2021, I recognize that leadership is a responsibility that one doesn't take lightly, because you carry the hopes of many people, and you have the potential to influence their future and probably influence their life trajectory and career success through the decisions you make and the biases that you bring in. And I've had about 7 or so mentors in my career thus far, and they've helped me navigate my leadership journey. And by the way, I know when you often see a woman speaking, you'd assume she's surrounded by many strong women. I've had more male mentors than female, and they've served me well in specific periods. But the conscious decision I always make is I would like to make sure that there are more female mentors around to mentor both young men and young women, because we also run the risk of leaving the men behind, and we need to create a very inclusive environment. I personally actively look for thinking partners, and my latest mentor is someone who's quite phenomenal in my view. I approached her after reading her biography early last year, and by the way, I didn't approach her by just walking to her. I was so moved, and I thought, I've got to find a tactful way of getting to her. And she's been a pillar of strength in the last year as I navigated these challenges. As Claire mentioned earlier on, I've led an organization in a time of transition. But what's been very important for me is to maintain the courage that I know I inherently have, but also remain authentic. And when you're authentic with yourself, it's easier for you to be honest to other people about where you're struggling, about where you need help, and where you don't know. So I naturally joined an industry I didn't know anything about, having come from FMCG. And I've had to learn, and that meant there are times when I have to be a leader, and there are times I have to be led. And that for me is shared leadership. And I've been working on focusing on shared leadership because naturally sometimes you want to lead, but you've got to recognize that sometimes you have to be led by people who are probably more knowledgeable than you. And you see it as well if you're a parent with your children. Sometimes they have to lead you because they know something much better than you do. Things are changing so fast. We're in moments of transition. So the old leadership styles that we knew and grew up knowing would have to change. And that is something that I work very hard towards to make sure that that actually continues to be the narrative that we develop in many organizations. And most of you may be sitting in this session as young people and may very well be in a space where you're unsure of the next step. Or maybe you've landed a job or you've chosen the entrepreneurship route. And you'll always get the best value from having authentic discussions about your ideas and challenges with somebody. Having a mentor is something that you will always find value in. And I'm a living example of someone who's gone through various challenges, challenges around getting into corporate, about parenthood, and also leadership, because the leadership journey has not been easy. But if you tap and hone in on your values, those will always guide you and be your North Star. I'll end with a quote by Denzel Washington. And it says, "I don't care what you do for a living. If you do it well, I'm sure there was someone cheering you on and showing you the way." And that was a mentor. Thank you. I think at this point, I would love to take questions, Claire, and I'll be guided by you.
Hi, thank you for that. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. I think you can see by the thumbs up and clapping hands and hearts that your presentation was very well received. Thank you so much. There was also some debate on the right-hand side of whether you were talking about yourself, and Sabelo definitely got that right. Jenny's made some great comments about mothers must be encouraged and able to continue their own career development, as well as, raising the next generation along with their partners. So it's important that both husbands and wives and fathers and mothers are given the encouragement. Zanola agrees with your values, being a beacon and driving your life decisions. And Sabelo says shared leadership is my takeaway, and likes that. Natasha said the question was answered, and you obviously explained it very well. We don't have any other questions. I think, I think it's just as we talk about the mentor. Oh, we have a question as I was about to launch into my next session. How does one start that mentorship conversation? And this is an excellent question as we're about to launch our membership program. Once you've identified someone as a mentor, how do you start that conversation without sounding like a fan? What a great question, Sabelo.
Thank you, Claire. So, in all honesty, I think the way you've got to look at mentorship is sometimes it's not necessarily about finding someone that you admire, because that person that you admire may not very well take you down the path that you want to. Because, like I said, if you start with authenticity, you'll recognize that you can never be like them. And the first mistake a lot of people make is they say, "Oh, I want to be like this person." You will not be like the person. So when you approach, I often approach with a problem or with a challenge that I have, and I assess. And sometimes that person may not be the right person, and you walk away from it before you engage too deeply in it. But you have a challenge that you have, and you need to get clarity of thought in your mind as to what it is you want to get out of it. It's one thing to become friends with someone you admire, but it's another to say, I have this challenge, and who is the best person to actually help me get out of it? Or I've got some brilliant ideas, and I'm not sure how to crystallize them, and I have somebody to assist me in getting over the next hurdle. When you find that person, it's really about finding a thinking. If your minds get together and you find that you actually have you are able to connect, and that is the first point. But in terms of getting there, I often go with a challenge, and it takes courage. And for people who are introverts, it sometimes can be quite daunting, and I'm aware of that. And I'm somebody who's not very out there because I naturally am an introvert as well. So it takes a lot of courage, and that's why I call it courage, because it's not an easy thing to just go and approach somebody. So I always make sure that my thoughts are well developed. I'm clear about what I want to get out of, and when I've got clarity of thought, it then becomes easier for me to share it with the next person, and maybe by them understanding me better and understanding the problem, they then can engage with me. So that is who I am. I struggle to approach somebody with saying, can you be my mentor? I admire you and so forth. I find it, if I could use the word cheesy, probably that, but it really is, the skill of identifying that you have a challenge and you want someone to help you through it.
Absolutely, and courage and authenticity, as your presentation is entitled, is absolutely the key. Being true to yourself, being courageous, being who you are, and not trying to pretend to be somebody else, and that's how you'll develop the best kinds of relationships. Many of the speakers yesterday referred to mentoring, and there was one person in particular who said that he had a mentor who was younger than himself, and he really enjoyed that interaction because learned such a lot. And I think, as speaking for myself, as you sort of progress through your life, it's also very important to keep in touch with people who are younger than you, and also to learn from them and not realize and not think that you know everything, in this day and age as time moves on so quickly. Great comments here, TAELO. I hope you can see them. And great question there from Sabelo. Well answered. Thank you. I think if there are no other questions, I'm just going to check in the other. Nope, just a lot of likes.
I think one thing to share, Claire, is, as young people in the room, they also must recognize that they have unspoken power, and if it's used wisely, you can actually influence leaders who are open to being led. So I often say I meet with the youth in my organization virtually once a month because I want to learn from them, and sometimes they have ideas that I may not have thought of because I'm wired a little differently. I come from a different era, probably, and you want to get more, you want to learn more about the digital space, you want to learn more about, how to do things a lot more efficiently. And if as leaders, we don't listen to them and get them to actually bring those ideas forth, we don't change the working environment. So I want to say to the youth in this session that you actually have unspoken power, and when you find a leader who is open to that level of engagement, use it wisely, and you could grow significantly in your careers.
Absolutely. Well said. That was great. That was a great finale. I think if there are no other questions or comments, then we'll introduce the mentorship program, but we'd like to keep TAELO on the screen as well, if you don't mind, just so that she could maybe give some input in case I've missed something out. Tebogo has a good point. Sometimes it's also good to get your critics to be your mentors. It builds relationships. Very important, Tebogo. Well said. I agree. It's important to listen to what you could perhaps be better at, not take things personally, and really and learn from those engagements. Absolutely. Well, I think this is a good point at this moment to introduce the SAPEX mentorship program. It's actually great for our team and for the board and for our stakeholders and partners to have been involved in this initiative and to formalize it more than it has been in the past. It has been proven and been said often over the last day and a bit that the best leaders and workers have mentors and coaches. And there's absolutely no shame in asking for guidance or help or direction. And I think it's quite poignant that today is World Mental Health Day, and that we all recognize that self-care is very important. And if you're having a tricky time and some challenging times, it's actually very, very important to reach out to mentors and coaches and to have as many as you can and you can fit into your life as you possibly can. So we are honored to launch the mentorship program today, and I'm delighted to say we have 37 members of the SAPEX community on board from a diverse range of industries. And I think that for our students and young professionals who are on this platform today, to please use this opportunity that has been created for you. It can only help you in your lives, in your careers. It helps with your CVs. It helps in your interviews to have been able to have bounced off some questions and some assistance with directions. And I think you all realize now it's quite hard to do some things on your own. And mentors and coaches can often help you think about things a little bit more differently to perhaps what you had thought. So how it's going to work is that the mentors who are available today have a table in the lounge. So if you go to the left-hand side of your screen when I've finished with the messaging, then you need to move to the lounge, and you will have already seen, you've been emailed, and in the handout bag, the mentorship document that shows the profiles of our mentors. There are 6 mentors who can't be here with us today. Sorry, 7, because one has load shedding this morning. And their email addresses are on the document, and they are happy for you to reach out to them via LinkedIn or via their email address, and you can connect that way. But I suggest that you go onto the floor and go into the lounge and just grab a seat and start chatting, speak to the other young professionals and students who are on the platform too. And let's hope that we have some great relationships that are established here this morning. If the tables are full, please be encouraged to visit the sponsor hangouts and get some information on those partners and organizations and sponsors of SAPEX. And also, very important, please visit Elaine and Bev on the SAPEX booth. They are there and happy to chat to you about signing up as a member today if you're not one already. Also, some guidance on perhaps your educational journeys if you are a young professional and looking to further your education qualifications. And then also, you can also take the time if the tables are full to watch the sessions from yesterday. For those who joined a little bit late, all the sessions will be transferred onto a YouTube link, and these will be circulated to you to see. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to us at the SAPEX stand or at the help desk to see if you weren't able to maybe come on time. And before you leave, I'd love you to just complete the poll on the right-hand side of the screen to rate TAELO's brilliant presentation. I think judging from the comments and all the hearts and thumbs up, I think you all enjoyed that. And I'd like to just formally thank her for her time this Saturday morning. She had a very busy and she said energetic week. We appreciate the time on a Saturday morning. And thanks to all of you for being here. It's great. The turnout is amazing. And I look forward to chatting to you as well on the booth on the SAPEX Hangout and on the lounge. So we're going to close the session now. Thanks again, TAELO, for your time. You're welcome to come and chat to some of the people on the SAPEX stand as well, if you like. On the SAPEX tables. If you have some time, I'd appreciate that. And we're going to close the session now. See you in the lounge.
Thank you. Thank you. I will stay on table 1. I'll go join table 1.
Great. Thanks very much.